So the final episode for Daredevil Born Again Season 2 is now out, and that means all the episodes are out. Season 2 is done. Season 3, of course, lots of leaked photos we've got. I mean, we already know what's going on with Season 3. We got a pretty good idea. Next week, going into the Punisher special, it's like about a 90-minute special. And then after that, assumingly that's going to be kind of tying into Spider-Man Brand New Day, because again, Punisher is going to be in that movie. But I want to talk about the season and that finale for Daredevil Born Again Season 2. Not sure what I could throw up on screen, so maybe this kind of be a little bit more kind of podcasty sort of style, although a little bit shorter, kind of a mixture of kind of a reaction, impressions, review sort of combination. Still trying to get a feel for these kind of videos. So if you guys have any feedback, let me know how I can improve these in the future. But again, spoilers ahead. I'm not gonna really hold back. I want to go straight into the spoilers and just kind of discuss it, and would love to hear what you guys thought down in the comments below. First things first, I think the overall season is way better than season 1. Born Again season 1 felt kind of like everything was being, like, every episode was like they were just dragging it out. What I liked about when the series was on Netflix was that all the episodes felt, for the most part, not every single episode, but most episodes felt very interesting, right? It didn't feel like they were just trying to drag story along for the sake of TV. But Born Again season 1 felt that way, and I was like, oh, dude, come on, this sucks, But then we got into Born Again season 2, and I mean, right out of the gate, it was just really, really strong, in my opinion. Maybe not the best that it could have been, but a lot stronger than what season 1 was. And it felt a lot more of what we we're hoping for, and what we were, what this show could be. Now, again, I said spoilers ahead. Of course, about halfway through the season, Jessica Jones comes back again, same actress. Again, I love that they're bringing back all of the original actors and actresses for all these different characters. So Jessica Jones comes back. If you guys never watched, all those shows back in the day, man, you're missing out. Especially, like they're setting up for the Defenders to come back. And if you haven't seen the leaked photos for season 3, the whole Defenders crew is back, basically. But so season 2, okay, we're going along. The finale, right? Of course, they kill off Vanessa Fisk, which was pretty crazy, which of course adds a whole fuel to Wilson Fisk becoming more of the Kingpin. I mean, obviously he's been the Kingpin, but more of that. And the whole thing is set in the court with Karen Page, and she's on trial for being some kind of vigilante because she was helping Daredevil or whatever. Anyways, Matt Murdock comes in, of course, episode 7, as a second lawyer for Karen. But what's crazy, and to me was one of the most jaw-dropping moments in the finale, was and you've seen it building up towards that, the whole courtroom setting, and it was building and building, and then Matt Murdock just drops that big, massive reveal. He turns around, says to the court that he is Daredevil. I mean, it's crazy. It kind of had a little bit of that moment of like when Tony Stark says, "I am Iron Man," but in a different way, right? Because I don't know, this felt more kind of like, Matt Murdock's identity felt a little bit more masked than Tony Stark's identity with Iron Man or whatever. And it just felt like a bigger moment, because again, there's so much that has happened, and he just turns around, and it just makes you wonder, right? They didn't really get into some of this. Unfortunately, there's not enough time. I guess it's maybe something that we're going to get into in like season 3. But some of the characters that, maybe didn't explicitly know that he was Daredevil, what are their reactions? What do they have to say? How many of them actually, knew all along, but never said anything? How many of them just kind of were unsure but suspected? And then, others that are just like, dude, that's that's who Daredevil is, like a blind lawyer, you know what I mean? So, but it's crazy. So, what happens in that courtroom, I mean, Matt just basically annihilates everything that Fisk was trying to do, exposes everything, including, of course, himself and his own, alter ego. And then everything just starts to unravel at that point, right? It's just crazy. The governor or whatever's shows up and demands that he resigns essentially, and he's refusing, and he holds up in the courthouse. And the craziest moment is, I think, the moment where the task force is going to get Matt, and then him and Jessica Jones and forgot her name, but anyways, the girl that's kind of she's like the new White Tiger, right? Again, I'm drawing a blank on her name, but when they're fighting all of the task force in the hallways, and it's brutal, man. I mean, even like, the girl is just like smashing some of their heads into the walls. I mean, it's brutal. But at the same time, you have the polar opposite scene, and there's a bounce back and forth where Kingpin snaps. I mean, again, at this point, he's Kingpin. He's not just Wilson Fisk. He is Kingpin. He snaps, and he just screams, "Open the doors!" Blah blah blah, and he goes out, and at that point, the crowd that came in, all the crowd is like, yeah, we're standing against Wilson Fisk, but then he just destroys them. Like, he's literally killing a bunch of them, beating them to a pulp. He opens the door. It's the crazy. I think the second craziest part was when he opens the door next to, when Matt Murdock reveals, "I am Daredevil." He opens the doors and he just says "boo," and then he just punches this one dude in the face or whatever, and the dude goes flying, and he's just instantly dead. And I think that showcases the utter brutality and power that Kingpin actually has, right? He's an abnormally strong dude, filled with so much and fueled by so much rage. And I don't know, I think they did a really good job at capturing all of those elements in this season, especially just the duality, the contrast between Matt Murdock as Daredevil and then Wilson Fisk as Kingpin, and it's just like those two. Again, they both have alter egos. Matt Murdock wears a mask. Wilson Fisk doesn't, but he hides everything, behind the mask of a mayor, if you will. It's kind of like a flip-flop. It's just the contrast that they had this season was just so immaculately done. It was so well done that it just blew my mind. I think it was so well done. And again, at the end of this, what's interesting is that there's this big showdown, at the very end. Not much of a fight between Matt or Daredevil, which is Matt, obviously, and Fisk. But there's this moment where, the crowd is about to beat Fisk to a pulp. They've actually managed to kind of surround him, and both Jessica Jones and of course Matt, Daredevil, stop them, and he says, we're better than this. It's not who we are, kind of thing. And again, that kind of shows the contrast as well, right? That he's not, he's not what Fisk is. And then there's a moment where he's just begging Fisk, for the sake of that they don't have to go to that length to stop him, to just take the deal, because the attorney general was offering a deal for him to just leave the city, which is kind of wild, right? Because at that point he's not prosecuted. So I don't know. That's kind of weird, but I guess maybe they'll explore a little bit more of that in season 3. Again, a lot of leaked photos. But again, it was just interesting to see that he ends up, kind of taking that. He says, okay, fine, I'll, in the end. And then you just kind of see him at the very, very end. You just see him kind of like on a beach somewhere. But the season 3 leaked photos, we do see him back in New York with a big Santa beard. So I don't know what's going to happen there. And then Matt Murdock just ends up in jail for, I guess, some of the things that he did as Daredevil. Apparently attempted murder and different things like that. Whatever. I mean, obviously, if he wanted to attempt murder, he would have done it. But anyways, again, that's going to be probably explore a little bit more. And the whole task force is also shown being in the jail. So everything's been cleaned up, essentially. And I assume, again, based on some of the leaked photos for season 3, that Sheila is probably going to be stepping into mayor. But what's interesting is that, we've seen leaks of Luke Cage from season 3, but what's really cool is he does show up at the end of season 2. He's kind of gone away for a time, if you will, and he comes back. And what's interesting is, like, from the comics, Jessica Jones' daughter in the show, you assume the father is Luke Cage, right? Because that's kind of how it is in the comics. And that's exactly what they do at the end of this episode. Luke Cage comes back. He's there. We get our first look at him kind of returning. Again, bringing back all the original actors and actresses. I'm so stoked about that. And then again, Iron Fist is like the only one, right? We leaked photos for season 3, but Iron Fist is the only one left where we're gonna get assumingly the Defenders kind of back. And that's raises the question, are we gonna get the Defenders back as its own kind of like series as well? That'd be super cool. That was a fun series. I would like to see some Iron Fist series as well. I liked it. I like that actor, personally speaking. I don't know what some people's gripes are with it, but I'm really stoked about that. So it was really cool to see all that and how that ends. And again, it just ends with Matt basically in jail. The task force is in jail as well. What's going to happen? How is he going to get out? How's he going to, what's going to happen from this point on? Your guess is as good as mine. We're gonna have to wait and see, but it's just the way that it ended. Like the episode, if I was to rate this one finale in and of itself, isolated, I think this was like a 9.8 out of 10. I think it is probably the best Daredevil episode we've ever had. Again, I don't remember every single episode from all the Netflix series, but I've watched every single Daredevil episode, both for Born Again and the original series. And this really does feel like probably the best episode that we have gotten in the entire kind of series, if you will, again previously, and with the Born Again series, season 1 and season 2. It's crazy. 9.8. Now how would I rate the whole season? Honestly, I'd probably give it a solid 9 out of 10. I think the season was really well done. Last season I might have given, like, let's say, like, I don't know, I'd have to go rewatch it. Maybe I would have given it like a 7.5 or something. It was good. It wasn't great. It maybe was an 8, maybe, but again, it felt like certain things kind of dragged a little bit. This felt like the Daredevil that, like, again, we were hoping for when it got announced Daredevil's coming back. So look, I'm all that to say, I think they did a great job. I look forward to seeing how they kind of continue this in the future. With season 3, I look forward to seeing obviously the Defenders back together in some form or another in season 3. Luke Cage is back. Jessica Jones is back. We already know Iron Fist has come back too. We've seen the photos. Fisk, I don't know what's going on with him. He's taking on a new, persona. He's going to be Santa Claus or something, It's I don't know. So I'll be really interested to see. And again, how does Fisk play into the whole world? And at this point, again, it'd be very interesting to see how that kind of goes. And it's a little bit of I'll say one thing. It's a little bit of a bummer that Sony was just not willing to cooperate with Spider-Man. Because again, like, Spider-Man and Kingpin is a huge thing in the comics. And the fact that we've never seen that kind of interaction in the MCU sucks. But, it is what it is. All that to say, I think this leads perfectly into that Punisher special that we're going to be getting next week. And again, I think that Punisher special is probably going to lead directly into Spider-Man Brand New Day. There's probably going to be stuff at the end, maybe not major, but stuff at the end that's going to lead directly into that movie, which is next month, I believe, right? In June, if I remember correctly. So I don't know. You guys let me know what you think in the comments below, but I wanted to kind of make this quick video, kind of just share my thoughts, reaction, impressions, review of this finale and of this season, because I think it's been mind-blowing. Again, give me some critique, feedback on how you'd like to see future videos like this. Do you like this kind of just sort of loose, kind of podcasty sort of style? I don't know how else to call it, but stick around for more. And again, we've been talking a lot about leading up to Avengers Doomsday. I'm currently reading all of the Jonathan Hickman comics. I'm trying to work through those and actually finish those to get up to Secret War. I've owned the Secret War comic book for like ever, and I've never finished it. So I'm gonna try to finish that whole series so I can get as much information as possible from that, and maybe I'll talk about that whole run whenever I get to finish it. Again, I've been reading many comics. I'm like over 50 issues within the last couple of weeks. So let me know if you want to see videos on that. Again, I think Jonathan Hickman is definitely a run you want to read leading up to Secret Wars. But again, this video about Daredevil, we'll talk about that in a different video. But let me know your thoughts. Stick around for more, subscribe, whatever. And I think the MCU is back, man. I think, after Endgame, we had some rough patches. There was some like series that are kind of, it was some stupid series. WandaVision was great. There's a couple great ones, but a lot of hit or miss, but I think they're kind of pulling it back. I think Fantastic Four was pretty good in my opinion. I still haven't seen Thunderbolts, and I'm a little bit late to that one. Brave New World actually is the other one I missed. I don't know how I missed those, but I'll get around to those sooner than later. I don't know. I feel like they're starting to get their footing back again, and I think the MCU is starting to shape up to be a lot better. And Wonder Man was really good too, man. That's like a solid 9 out of 10 show as well. Not a lot of superhero-y stuff, unfortunately, with that one, but it was still a good show in the universe. So anyways, thanks for watching. Till the next one. Catch you guys later.